What's up, everybody? I'm Stan, and welcome to Detail Comics, where we go over comics in detail. This is iRate Reviews, the show where I go over a comic book, its story, its art, give you my impressions, and let you know whether it's something to go back to the comic book shop for or not. So make sure you subscribe to get more of these every single week. In this one, I'm going to be talking about Batman Lost number 1. So Batman Lost number 1 is what I would consider to be a key player inside the DC Dark Knight's Metal, basically this universe that they're really creating, this dark universe, this dark multiverse. And what it does is it shows us where Batman has been. Because if we remember correctly, Batman hasn't really made himself known other than a very small appearance in Dark Knight's Metal number 3 since Dark Knight's Metal number 2. And that's about the span of almost 2 months at this point in time. So it's definitely something that we're going to be interested in. However, let's just dive right into the story. The way that we start off is we see an aged Bruce Wayne sitting in his mansion, and he's about 78 years old at this point in time, and he's interrupted, but it's in a very weird way, because he looks straight at us, the reader, and says, "I see you," which is a throwback to a bunch of different kind of fourth wall breaking moments in various comic books over history. Then we see his young granddaughter, Janet. She's just like, she's like, "Grandpa Bruce, I want a story." And she goes and she starts pawing over his entire library, which is a library full of Batman stories, like Long Halloween, the Dark Knights. There's No Justice. There's a sign of a badge that says Batman, like an official police badge. And then there's a photo of him in front of a bat signal and with his cowl down, standing with Commissioner Gordon. There's all these different kind of things, It's really interesting, and there's a lot of Easter eggs. There's a lot of really good Easter eggs for Batman fans in there. But ultimately, she picks out one, which is the story of Batman's first real case. So he leads it off, but he's got this kind of mental image that it's not necessarily the right way to start the story. However, at the prodding of Janet, she kind of forces him to go along with it, and then we end up in the situation where he's confronting the person, going over the scenario that's happening, and then all of a sudden these birds start smashing into the window, which he feels is wrong, and then immediately his consciousness is flashed back into a previous timeline. And this is a previous timeline that he's lived in the pre-New 52 kind of context. At the end of Final Crisis, we see Batman get thrust back through time, and then Grant Morrison writes The Return of Bruce Wayne. And this is a scene from The Return of Bruce Wayne. And he sees this war unfolding between the tribe of the Bat and the tribe of the Birds. So the oracle kind of person that is there showing him this says that the leader of the Bat tribe, that was a man that will be reincarnated as Hoth-Set. And Hoth-Set is the man that would become Vandal Savage. So it's just like showing how Bruce's actions and how everything has been cultivated over time to create the situation that they're currently in, where Barbatos has come in through the gateway that is Batman. Then we flash back to the original story where he's kind of like stuck in this glass tube, and he's got to break the glass in order to get out of these kind of things. Or he's flashing forward to where he's seeing his son Damian basically in charge of this squad that's meant to hunt down the Bat. Like, his father has brought shame to these people. It's just, there's a lot of different stuff going on as far as continuity, future continuity, past continuity, various aspects of other stories inside and outside. There's a throwback to a scene in Dark City, Dark Knight, I think, or Dark Knight, Dark City, where Thomas Wayne is going to be sacrificing a person on an altar, this woman, and everybody starts running and screaming, and then all of a sudden she bolts upright and stares Bruce Wayne right in the face, and it's not the woman from the story who is this like long-haired redhead, it's Selina Kyle's Catwoman, or she bears a striking resemblance to it. And again, she just calls out to Bruce, and she's like, "I see you," and she's staring right at the reader. So then there's just so much going on as far as the continuity is concerned, but ultimately what it comes down to is you get the scene where Bruce Wayne finally realizes that this is not right. After he goes through this entire mind trip where he gets stabbed as Alan Wayne by the Talon, and he runs madness into the streets where he's talking to these various cops and stuff like that and trying to make them believe him, but then he sees a vision of Wonder Woman, and he drops down into the darkness, and then finally finds his granddaughter is not what she seems to be, as she's like this beastie that scampers up to the top of the ceiling and confronts Barbatos, or at least the vision of Barbatos that is in the window of his mansion. And Barbatos tells him everything, which seems to be the case that Barbatos is engineered ever since he saw Bruce Wayne travel back through time. He has engineered the gateway, turned him into the vehicle, the wagon of the entry of Barbatos into our multiverse. You know, his escape from the Dark Multiverse. He has cultivated and crafted everything about Bruce Wayne and the Tribe of the Bat, created the Court of Owls, created those dark birds to fight against this tribe, to create his passing and his coming through into our universe. And if it wasn't for Barbatos, Bruce Wayne and Batman would be terrible, fearsome, mistake-riddled people. That, you know, Barbatos has cultivated who Batman is. And ultimately, it drives Batman to the point of madness, and where he doesn't want to see these kind of things anymore, and just goes back to reading the story to Janet, starting over at the beginning of the book. And that's where we kind of leave things. So when we're talking about Batman Lost #1, not only is it a trip through continuity, this is a love letter to all the stories that have kind of led to this moment. So in Dark Knight, Dark City, you know, that was the first real mention of Barbatos, the bringing of a demon forth. And then when we go to, you know, these other timelines, it's a love letter to Grant Morrison, and what he did in Final Crisis, and then going into the return of Bruce Wayne, and what he did with Batman in general. And it's just turning everything kind of on its head. I love the mix of art styles. I love the different writers. You know, Scott Snyder did a great job. James Tynion did a great job. I mean, well, you know, Jorge Menez, he did a phenomenal job when it came to his art for Batman in this book. There's just so many good things about this, and I believe that somebody in the comments on my preview video said it is a Batman continuity lover's dream, and I could not agree more. It's just one of those things that it makes you want to go back and read other books. So, you know, reading Dark Knight, Dark City gives you more out of this, and it gives you the opportunity to kind of get into the larger scope of what inspired Dark Knight's metal. Reading Final Crisis and then the return of Bruce Wayne gives you more in terms of fleshing out the ability, you know, what happened in Batman Lost. And then it gives you all this understanding. Really, it's, you know, we can talk about Darkseid War, and we can talk about New 52, and we can talk about pre-52, we can talk about, you know, Flashpoint, Final Crisis, A Crisis of Infinite Earth. There's so much continuity that's clashing inside Dark Knight's metal and DC Rebirth that it's hard to know which way is up. And this is basically Barbatos saying that all of it's up, and I'm down, and I just made everything happen for you, which is just super cool. So Batman Lost #1 is definitely a must-read book for me. It is easily one of my favorite, if not my favorite book coming out of DC's Dark Knight's metal right now. And I mean, I really enjoyed the Red Death. I really dug the Merciless. The Devastator was pretty good, and then the overall issues for DC's Dark Knight's metal, and then you get the Forge and all that kind of stuff. This is the book that has me, like, it captured me, because it made me want to go read more to understand more of what pieces kind of go together. So it's definitely something that I've got to recommend. It's fantastic. I loved everything about it, and I can't wait to see where it kind of goes from here, because it kind of gave me an idea as to a theory that I kind of want to put together regarding Barbatos and how everything kind of came to be. So definitely a must-buy for me, but I want to know what you guys think too, so hit me up in the comments down below, and we can start that conversation. As always, if you like what you see, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to get more news, reviews, and commentary on comic books, comic book movies, comic book TV shows and games, and anything and everything inside the world of comics.